A secret of Earthlings. The sight of an Earthling in the markets isn't rare. There have always been Earthlings drifting through the settled worlds. Cheap labor, they work for credits on the mark and always the least desirable jobs. After being scrapped off their own home world, those that still had the heart drifted. There were a few home ships, a half dozen kilometers of steel and air, the last remnants of a people who were killed before their time. Sad, really. The thought would break my heart if I had one. Luckily for me, I don't. Silly thing, really, organs that, if punctured, can bring about your own death. My people had gotten rid of such things centuries ago. A little genetic manipulation here, some specialized evolution there, and boom. Every strand of muscle fiber is part of a whole. The entire body a working organ. We are nearly immortal beings now, and as such we have the appetites of immortals. My job is to satisfy those appetites. I simply provide. Which brings me back to the Earthling. He was dark by their standards. Maybe that was some kind of evolved camouflage. If he backed into an alleyway, all you would see is white eyes hooded in the shadows. Whole scary thought, really. I had a client who wanted to sample the fungus found only in a swamp on Regis Roman 3. However, since Regis Roman 3 is currently an embargoed planet with a level 4 biohazard warning, only an Earthling is strong enough, dumb enough, and desperate enough to risk landing on it. And land he did by the looks of things. I wonder if he knew that the fungus unrefined was a mild hallucinogen. But refined or in large quantities, it creates a full-body paralytic, where the person who's ingested it can feel every nerve magnified 100x-fold. The simple brush of air along your skin can drive you insane with sensation and agony. I don't ask what my clients want such things for. I simply provide. He was tall, 2.5 meters or more, draped in a long coat that hung to his boots. Two cross belts held a weapon in one holster on his hip, and a blade no more than 10 inches on his thigh. There was some hat on his head, a style I had never seen him without. Once I had asked him about it. He called it a cowboy hat. I asked him what that was, and his answer puzzled me. I don't know, only ever seen them on a lunchbox. There was so much to unpack in that statement, I don't think anything he said would have satisfied me. With him was his crew, a 6 Earthling team. It was almost comical, the tropes they pulled out. Each one seemed to be armed entirely at random. A male with a gun strapped to his back that was bigger than some ship cannons. A small male with the words, "Will kill for peace," stenciled across his rather oddly curved chest. Didn't seem to be armed at all. He did seem to have some hypnotic or mind-controlling sway over the female Earthlings. The female Earthlings scared him the most. They walked on all fours, covered in a thick mange of hair from nose to tail. It wasn't their teeth that scared him really either. Everyone in the settled worlds has teeth. Maybe not quite as long and pointy, sure, but we all have them. It was the eyes of the females. They didn't hate anything until the small male with them told them to. I had been trying to purchase one off the Earthling for years, but no luck yet. I dream about the money a prize like that could fetch me. "Earthling," I intoned. "Doug," he replied. He couldn't pronounce my name. Instead asked if he could call me the name of a hero of Earth in respect. I had agreed, and so we proceeded. He handed over the 2 canisters, nodding to the larger of the 2 males behind him. Big fella here had to slog through a couple of miles of swamp, ooze, and all manner of critters that don't need no discussing. He's been through a lot. I think he deserves a bonus, don't you? I opened the first canister, reaching inside and dipping my tongue into the slime. Within seconds it was pleasantly numb, and I could feel the first rush already swooping in on me. This was some very good fungus. Of course, I couldn't let them know that. If they thought I was even the slightest bit impressed, who knows what they would try and charge. I nodded as if thinking, then realized I probably should actually try and think about it. This was some really good fungus indeed. I couldn't give up any more credits to them. A deal was a deal, but a bonus. Maybe I had something in stock they would want. "I'll take these 2 and all the rest you might have gathered on your ship. But would you take a trade instead of credits?" I waved them over and pulled aside a curtain into the back. Come, if you see something you like, maybe we can make a trade." The Earthlings nodded to each other, and the 2 larger ones followed me. The small male and the 3 females stayed out in the front. Like most back rooms in shady marketplaces, mine was filled with prizes. Decadent delights for the discerning Domini. I had spice worms brought in who, when attached to a person, filtered their blood with a euphoric toxin. It has no effect on the person being leached by the worm, but if you drank the blood, your high could last for days. In one section, I had a hermetically sealed chamber filled with a spore-pollinating flower that made most mammalian creatures extremely susceptible to suggestion. Entire planets had been brought down by that little flower, and their peoples had never even known about it. One day your president sniffs a flower. The next day you are a part of the settled worlds. We passed by a cage filled with small naked apes. I had gotten a windfall sale of the things. I thought they would make good pets or working stock. They looked clever enough. Humanoid, bipedal, if you squinted, they looked like a caricature of a earthling. They had proven too stupid to be useful, making chittering noises at me or just screaming a lot. My windfall had proven a dud, but it wasn't all bad. They turned out to be very tasty when cooked, and I had started toying with the idea of selling them at the local farmer's market. The captain stopped. "Where did you get these?" He pointed at the pink screaming things. I paused, rubbed my hands over each other. This was not what I expected. We hadn't even gotten to the weapons yet. "Pardon?" I toned. "These? Where did you get them?" The second earthling seemed to be having some kind of breathing issue. His face, white where the captain's was black, seemed to be changing color. I was unaware earthlings could do that. Odd. "I bought them off a passing ship. They said they hit a transport and took everything that wasn't nailed down. I assure you, sir, they are useless. All they do is scream and leak fluids. I haven't found any other use for them than protein. Please, allow me to show you to something you will actually want. Is there something wrong with your friend?" The man was shaking now, fists clenched and mandibles rigid. For all I knew about earthlings, he could have been dying or simply excreting. I wondered if I was going to have to get a mop. The captain turned to me. "I will buy the whole stock. Right here and now. How much?" The pleasant tingle turned into a crackling thrum through me. It seems that I am in a seller's market. "How much are they worth to you?" I asked. The second man's vibrating. That must have been excitement. "These things, whatever they are, must be worth far more than I could have guessed." The captain didn't hesitate. 300 a head, unspoiled." "Ha, please. 3,000 a head. 500? 2,500. 1,000. 2,300 and not a credit less." The captain snarled. "This isn't worth the cost, believe me." "You're right, they aren't." I stepped through the gate into the pen. The creature started screaming and crawling away. I nabbed one and held it by its leg. "But I do find them tasty, Captain. So please, if you want to have this stock, remember, 2,300 a head. And if you hurry, I will leave it unspoiled." The earthlings didn't look back as they left. Fools didn't even take the money for the slime. I dropped the screaming thing and walked back to the front of the shop. They will be back, I thought, with payment in full. The rest of the day went by as normal. Looky-loos and the occasional buyer. I locked up the shop and headed home, weaving my way through the streets. Nice part about living in a stational asteroid is that no matter where you are, you know which way is home. Just look up. The entire structure is a hollowed-out cylinder, all the buildings and agro-land wrapped up on top of itself. With a slight tilt of axis, we even get a night and day cycle as light filters through the ends. I dropped down an access shaft and came out half a click from my front door. There is a downside to genetic perfection. We didn't earn it. You get a species that evolves, they are going to be packing the genetic attributes of every ancestor that survived up until this moment. An unbroken chain of instinct and hazard avoidance. Fight or flight. But if you mess with that, mix it around and create one of my people, pure and perfect and immortal, your genes forget. They didn't earn the traits, and you cannot program experience. So, when I heard the howls, I didn't run. I couldn't. I didn't fight. I froze. It was chilling, unnerving, the undulating cry of loss. It came from all directions, and then one faded away, and then another. Finally, the last faded, and I am not too proud to admit I felt fear. I had to remember to breathe. I looked down the mouth of the Ally where I thought the first howling sound had come from. I squinted into the shadows. I could almost make out something moving. Something white. The shape moved closer, and I saw it was the smallest earthling. Its eyes were leaking. "You are a Radanji. You guys are supposed to be immortal, or at least really hard to kill right. I have seen the last second of a gladiator combatant's life. The moment where his enemy stands before him. Hatred, passion, dread, and excitement all wrapped up in its glory, transmitted directly into my brain to savor. However, I must admit, seeing those same emotions coming slowly at me, the experience has lost its savor. The terror I now felt was sharp and bitter. Well, she said, that's fine. I'm going to let you in on one of the biggest secrets in the galaxy. He whistled a three-note tune and the female spread out, herding me towards him. His hate was reflected in their eyes, and I started to ask him what was going on when he continued. Our world was devastated long before we met most of the galaxy, and it was decided that you, the galaxy at large, was scary. So, we had to hide. Hide until we were ready. Hide our weaknesses. Hide anything and everything we could about ourselves until we were ready. You stumbled onto a secret. Our babies. That transport must have been a nursing ship. Your stock is our young. Genes. Evolution. You find me a species that has made it this far, and I will show you a species riddled with maternal instinct. A perfect species doesn't need that. What is a mother to an immortal but some genetic material? But if this small earthling was a female, protective of her offspring, then I have made a mistake. Please, you must forgive me. If I had known they were earthling offspring, I would have, of course, shared the profits with you and your captain. The earthling went still. No. She pointed at me and clenched her fist. There was a howl and then pain. Epilogue. Okay, bring me up to speed. The detective looked like all detectives that have ever existed. Grizzled, grumpy, and slightly hungover. The young trooper at his elbow began to rattle off the details. Looks like an assault and robbery. Victim was the proprietor, a Radangi. He's still alive, but won't be much help. Why not? Mob thing. Refusing to press charges. Negative. We can't be certain until the lab boys give us the clear, but it looks like he was force-fed some kind of slime. The M can't even get close to him without him screaming. Radangi have that perfect body thing, the kind that don't die. His looks pretty messed up. Likely he won't even be sane after this. Damn. Was anything taken? No way to know, sir. Guys like this only keep a record in their heads. We do have plenty of things here to investigate, though. The detective nodded. See if you can find a client list or something. We tried that already. The computer was wiped. Looks like whoever got to our victim also got everyone he sold to. Then wiped it so we couldn't follow. You mean to say that someone has tortured a Radangi into insanity, then stole the list containing all of the clients' names and is out in the open? Yes, sir. I'm going to need more coffee. I have a feeling this is not going to be the last of these we will see. Yes, sir.